Celebrities seem to have it all. Tons of money, nice cars, expensive clothing and jewelry, and of course homes worth millions and millions of dollars. Not to say all celebrities act this way, but a large majority tend to blow their fortune on things they don't need, or at least buy unnecessary expensive items. I won't lie, if I could afford a Lamborghini I would buy one. I have a Honda Civic that works perfectly, but who doesn't want to buy a Lambo? That being said, unfortunately some people don't have the best money management skills, the right people around them, or just fall into some bad habits that lead to a poor quality of life. Today we'll be counting down the top 10 celebrities that became homeless. Starting our list off at number 10, Delonte West. Drafted in the first round of the NBA draft by the Boston Celtics in 2004, playing for the Seattle Supersonics, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Dallas Mavericks. However, over the past few years, West has been spotted around Dallas as well as other cities, appearing to be homeless and asking for money. In 2016, reports first broke that West was seen out begging for money, although he went on record claiming he wasn't homeless and was helping out a paralyzed man nearby who was asking people passing by for change. In 2019, another photo of West started making the rounds, with multiple sources claiming he is homeless and battling addiction, as well as suffering from schizophrenia. Another user claiming to be West's cousin stated that he deals with severe mental health issues, something that has been rumored to start taking place during his time with the Cavaliers. Although West has also denied these claims, as recently as January 2020, a video went viral on Twitter of what appears to be West getting beat up in the middle of a road. Turns out the man attacking West was actually the victim, who West hit with a bottle first. In a second video, a shirtless West can be seen handcuffed speaking with police and not making much sense. Of what can be understood, West claims to be the leader of the Navy SEALs, and at one point refers to himself as the real president. He also claims the man that attacked him had a gun, and then when asked where the gun is, he just swears and says I don't know. As of now, West's whereabouts are unknown, but hopefully he gets the help he needs. And at number 9, Gary Glitter. Now the name may not ring a bell immediately, but Gary is most notably known for the song Rock and Roll Part 2, among other gross things. Now look up that song, unfortunately we can't play it for you, but unlike a lot of others on this list, Glitter didn't go homeless due to a lack of money, but instead due to his disgusting past. In 2005, Glitter was convicted of having unwanted relations with a 10 and 11-year-old girl while living in Vietnam. In 2006, he was sentenced to just under 3 years in prison, and when he returned to his native country of London, had a tough time finding places to live. Although he could afford luxurious homes and residences, neighbors would complain to landlords that they didn't want this predator living beside them, to which, well, I really don't blame them. Time and time again, Glitter would end up on the streets with quite literally nowhere to go due to the fact that his reputation was known internationally. In 2015, Glitter was once again sentenced to jail, this time for 16 years, for incidences that took place between 1975 and 1980 that relate to the same charges that happened in Vietnam. Although he's been given a permanent home in the form of a jail cell, I'm sure his fellow inmates don't treat him too kindly, at least I hope not. At number 8, Rocky Lockridge. Most famously known for handing Roger Mayweather, Floyd Jr.'s uncle, his first loss, and winning the WBA Super Featherweight Championship, Lockridge's life unfortunately went into a downward spiral. Drugs got the best of Lockridge, he became homeless and suffered a stroke, which resulted in him needing a cane to walk. However, Lockridge's sons came to the rescue, and Lockridge got his taste of fame once again when his segment on the A&E show Intervention went viral. In hopes of helping their father out, the Lockridges appeared on the show, and upon Lamar, one of Lockridge's sons, crying and saying, "Because I know somewhere deep down in my heart I still love you," Rocky immediately broke down, crying and somewhat yelling. His reaction to his son's heartwarming words would then go viral, being dubbed best cry ever. Although he would eventually get sober, Lockridge would suffer another series of strokes and eventually pass away on February 7th, 2019 at the young age of 60. Now at number 7, Margot Kidder. Most notably known for playing Lois Lane in the Superman films that were released in the late 70s and early 80s. Although she was known in Hollywood and even dated the likes of comedian Richard Pryor and former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, unfortunately it seems mental illness got the best of Kidder. Reports claimed she battled schizophrenia as well as manic depression, and would sleep in cardboard boxes as well as locals' backyards in the 90s all around Los Angeles. Missing her front teeth with her hair unevenly cut, Kidder allegedly told the woman who found her sleeping in her backyard, I quote, "I may not look like it, but I'm Margot Kidder." Thankfully, Kidder eventually turned her life around, having a family in Montana, where she lived until she passed away from what is suspected to be an overdose due to drugs and alcohol in May of 2018. And at number 6, Danny Bonaduce. Starring in the 70s sitcom The Partridge Family, Bonaduce was a child star. However, the next couple of decades wouldn't treat him so kindly, as Bonaduce would battle with addictions and have his fair share of run-ins with the law. In hopes of getting back on his feet, Bonaduce would become an on-air personality, hosting multiple radio shows while going in and out of rehab. During one of his shows, Bonaduce admitted to listeners that at one point he was homeless, living in his car behind the famous Groman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. Although it wasn't the best living conditions, Bonaduce claims he'd still greet fans looking for his autograph. Moving on to number 5, Houston McTear. Dubbed the world's fastest human while still in high school, running a 100-yard dash in 9 seconds flat, McTear's career didn't pan out as many once thought it would. Hailing from a less fortunate home in Florida, McTear moved to LA in hopes of making a name for himself. Muhammad Ali started a track club built around McTear, thinking the hopeful Olympic star would be the next big thing. In 1976, McTear was kept out of the Summer Olympics due to a hamstring injury. In 1980, his dreams of competing would once again be crushed after the United States would boycott the games altogether. This would lead to McTear falling into some bad habits, mainly abusing narcotics. Eventually, McTear would lose everything, resorting to sleeping on a bench for years on Santa Monica's beach until an older woman rescued him. In 1993, McTear would marry that woman, Swedish sprinter Linda Haglund, and the two would start a family of their own in Sweden. McTear would pass away from lung cancer on November 1st, 2015 at the young age of 58. Now at number 4, Randy Quaid. The actor who has been nominated and won a handful of prestigious awards and is known for playing Cousin Eddie in the National Lampoon's Vacation franchise has had his fair share of troubles following his success. In 2009, Quaid and his wife were arrested after fleeing and failing to pay a $10,000 hotel bill. The following year, Quaid and his wife once again had a run-in with the law, being charged with burglary after spending 5 days in the guest house of a vacant home they previously owned. Although they claimed the house was wrongfully transferred due to a forged signature, which was not the case. Since Quaid and his wife have had other issues with them fleeing to Canada in hopes of seeking asylum. Although Quaid's wife is Canadian through her parents, when Quaid applied for citizenship through marriage, he was denied back in 2015. As of now, it's believed the two are living in Vermont, where Quaid's wife grew up. And at number 3, Natasha Lyonne. In the 90s, Lyonne was killing it in the film industry, landing roles in films such as Dennis the Menace, Slums of Beverly Hills, But I'm a Cheerleader, and most notably, American Pie. However, in years to follow, Lyonne would have multiple run-ins with the law, including being arrested for DUI. Shortly after, Lyonne would be evicted from her New York City apartment for missing multiple rent payments and disturbing the peace. She would end up homeless as per the New York Post, but would eventually turn her life around, landing a role in the smash hit Netflix series Orange is the New Black, which she got an Emmy nomination for. Moving on to number 2, Sly Stone. The frontman of Sly and the Family Stone, who were responsible for hits such as Everyday People, Family Affair, and Dances to the Music, to name a few, ended up losing everything. At one point, Stone owned multiple homes across the US, as well as a vineyard in Napa Valley. But after years of poor money management, substance abuse, and excess, he lost everything. Stone now lives out of his van and has been doing so for the past decade. Although going from a 5,400 square foot mansion in Beverly Hills to a van sitting alongside the curb in Crenshaw would discourage people, Stone seems to enjoy it. In an interview with the New York Post, Stone said he continues making music with his laptop out of his van and went on to say, I quote, "I like my small camper. I just do not want to return to a fixed home. I cannot stand being in one place. I must keep moving." End quote. Now in at number 1, Sugar Ray Williams. The former captain of the New York Knicks and 10th overall pick in the 1997 NBA draft would spend 10 years playing in the NBA before filing for bankruptcy in 1994 following his retirement. Filing would end up with Williams losing his house as well as family, so he decided to apply early for his $200,000 NBA pension. After receiving the pension, Williams would move to Florida, where he would fall victim to a real estate scam, making it even harder on him financially. This would lead to him working odd jobs, coaching local basketball teams, working maintenance in apartments, and even working in a bakery, to name a few. During this time, he would also receive grants from the NBA Retired Players Association, totaling to about $10,000, which unfortunately did not help him much. Williams would then be reported homeless, living out of a broken down 1992 Buick in Florida. Eventually, Williams' luck would turn around, getting employed by his hometown's recreation department. He would go on to marry Linda Crawford, a friend and nurse who also helped him get back on his feet. However, in 2013, on March 22nd, Williams would pass away due to colon cancer.
She sits there with the sign, he goes parks the Mercedes, and they put up the sign, and not less than 5 minutes, here she is getting money from all these people.
No, you're alright.
What are you doing?
Just wondering why you have a 2014 when you're begging for change all over the city of Richmond. You're on.
Why don't you leave me alone?
You're viral. You're on Facebook.
Homelessness is unfortunately a very real thing. People all over the world are forced to live on the streets or seek shelter day after day for various reasons. They have nowhere else to go, they can't afford rent or living space, the list can go on and on. The majority of homeless people can be seen on a regular basis asking for a helping hand on the streets, or as others put it, begging for money. However, this isn't always the case. Sometimes people who appear homeless aren't. They simply just don't want to work. They see it as a way to get free money of sorts. And as disgusting as the idea of that truly is, it's something people do, and it inspired today's list. We gotta get to counting down the top 10 worst people alive. Oh, sorry about that. It's the top 10 people who pretended to be homeless. Coming in at number 10, Michaelaan Dominguez. Now, Micha is possibly the most well-known fake homeless person on this list because the video of her getting into a 2014 Fiat went viral. Although the original video was taken down by YouTube for violating their harassment guidelines, the guys who filmed it felt no remorse, and they certainly shouldn't. Wayne Owens and Ian Patterson claimed they were fed up with Dominguez's aggressive panhandling ways, but it's unclear if they followed her throughout the day or just so happened to notice she was getting into her car and then started to film. Either way, she got what was coming to her after going viral and having not only Virginia, but the entire world see her true colors. It's not good luck if you ask me. Moving into the number 9 spot, Emily from Cambridge. Now, Emily was actually featured in a recent BBC documentary, Fake Homeless, Who's Begging on the Streets?, in which the documentary's host, Ellie Flynn, can be seen speaking with Emily. Although Emily receives benefits bi-weekly and has a flat paid for thanks to government assistance, she still goes to the street on a daily basis asking for money. Emily explained to Ellie, "I try and turn up every day. This is work to me." Emily went on to explain her options were either to beg for money on the streets or sell her body for money. She went on to say, "That's the truth. There aren't many options for a person like me. As sad of a situation as it may seem, it's even more sad to me that Emily genuinely believes she isn't doing anything wrong." Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Emily has a perfect life, but she has a roof over her head and the ability to get benefits from the government. Unfortunately, others aren't as fortunate. So, I don't know, I just think Emily could maybe just get a job and not just see panhandling as a job. Coming in at number 8, Matthew McNamara. The 43-year-old was arrested and sent to jail for 24 weeks and given a criminal behavior order, CBO, for antisocial begging and public drinking. Despite living in a nearby flat, McNamara would get a blanket and beg on the streets pretending to be homeless. He'd usually have a bottle in hand and act quite aggressively or threatening toward the public in general. Local authorities told the Metro this man is not homeless. He'd been living in a flat and coming out onto the streets covering himself in a blanket or sleeping bag and pretending he was homeless to get money. Not only was he preying on the sympathies of the public, but he was being aggressive and threatening while he was begging. He was often drunk at the same time. Coming into lucky number 7, Jodie Wooley. The 24-year-old Gloucester native pleaded guilty to 4 counts of begging after it was determined that she was not only faking being homeless, but was spending the money she got from unsuspecting passerbyers on drugs. Although Wooley is also on benefits, meaning she gets bi-weekly payments from the government, it was revealed that she also had her rent and electrical paid for by a government program. Following her guilty plea, Wooley was given a CBO, a £40 fine, and was also ordered to pay £85 in prosecution fees. It may seem like a slap on the wrist, but now that she's on the government's radar, I don't think she'll be faking homelessness anytime soon. Either that, or if she does and she gets caught, well, she'll most certainly lose her benefits and government assistance. In at number 6, Michaelaan Goodrich. It really doesn't seem to make much sense to me, and it's unclear what her motive was, but either way, here goes. Goodrich is 32 years old and was charged with offering a false instrument for filing, falsifying business records, and criminal trespassing. And the reason she was charged is because she enrolled in a high school pretending to be a homeless 15-year-old girl named Riley Madison. The craziest part of all this is that Goodrich already has a high school diploma. Goodrich was enrolled immediately under the McKinney-Vento Act, which states that the youth and homeless cannot be denied an education. However, after she attended her first day of classes, teachers saw red flags and a police investigation started. Turns out she was 32 and lying about it all. Halfway through at number 5, Larry. Larry is an interesting one as well because he's a clean-cut 80-year-old man who holds a sign that reads, "Out of work, out of money, please help." Although the sign doesn't say he's homeless, many people hand him money or change assuming he is. Larry actually has a condo with his wife, and although he claims he doesn't ever say he's homeless, locals told news stations that he always comes up with a new story. An example would be the time he told a woman he's staying with his sister and doesn't have anything. Larry is on welfare and says his panhandling just helps him get by, barely at that. Yet some claim they see him buying wine, groceries, or even getting takeout at high-end restaurants. One thing is for sure, this guy isn't homeless, but his sign and stop story could probably fool all of us. Now number 4, 27-year-old Tom. Tom's actually not even his real name, but this guy wanted to protect his identity because he probably realized he's scum. Story here is Tom needed a deposit for a new flat, so he decided to make himself look homeless, play the part, make some money, and then stop when he reached his goal. Tom claims he'd wrap himself in a blanket, dirty up his clothes, and go to a street corner begging. After about 10 weeks and 670 pounds later, Tom had accomplished his goal. After moving away from home and being crammed in a shelter, Tom explains he wanted his own space. I quote him saying, "I decided to go begging. I pretended I was homeless. I used to wrap a bedsheet around me and ripped my jeans, wore trainers with holes in it, and no socks to make people believe I was homeless. I would say I haven't eaten all day and I was homeless. It was all a game. I was going home, having a bath, and putting my nice clothes on again. Really, I wasn't homeless and I did not need food. I was trying to raise a deposit." End quote. Well, that's what we call the worst person in the world. Into the top 3 at number 3, Mercedes-Benz girl. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a name for Prego here, but this lady is a real piece of work, and I'm not even sure she's pregnant. So here's what we know. The woman stands on a street corner, possibly pregnant, at least appears to be, and with a little kid asking for money. Apparently, she does extremely well for herself because someone saw her walk from her area and get into a Mercedes-Benz. Newsflash, those aren't cheap. It's believed her husband picks her up and takes her and their child to a new area to beg. When someone saw this, they started to film the woman. As the woman realized she was being filmed, she allegedly picked up a big rock over her head as if she was going to charge the person filming. Now, I don't know much about pregnancy, but I don't think a pregnant woman can, or at least should, be lifting heavy rocks over their heads. Another person saw this and called the cops, but the family had taken off. I don't know, like, it's probably hard enough walking around with another human in your stomach. So to lift a rock over your head, I think it's just kind of hard. maybe it's possible. I don't know. And on to number 2, iPhone X lady. That's what we'll call this one. Now there's something about kids that really tugs at our heartstrings, which is why when you see someone pretending to be homeless with a child, you're probably more likely to give them money. At least, I know I would. But sometimes the child doesn't even need to be with you. This was the case for an unnamed woman in New Jersey who was holding a sign that read, "I have one baby, please in the name of God, help me to buy baby stuff and diapers," and even had a photo of a baby on her sign. Officers approached the woman and quickly found out she was scamming people. The police released a statement saying she claimed to be from Romania and is now living in Queens. She was asking for cash for her baby, but they pointed out to her that she had a $500 purse, some jewelry, and a new iPhone X and did not appear to be in critical need of cash. Their investigation led her to admit that she and several other women got dropped off to panhandle throughout New Jersey. The woman received a fine and I'm sure some bad karma as well. And now at the top spot, number 1, we got Operation Aquirm. That was the name of a police investigation that took place in Melbourne after a handful of beggars were caught on camera covering their faces and running away. Now you may think maybe they just didn't want to be filmed, and you'd be wrong. Turns out this was an organized group of people pretending to be homeless to make money and send it overseas to China. A total of 7 people were arrested and over $1,000 in cash was seized. A spokesman for local authorities explained all of those charged with begging offenses were offered referrals to support agencies, which at this stage has been declined by nearly all alleged offenders. Police are alleging that those who have been charged initially claimed to be experiencing homelessness. However, upon further inquiries, police discovered they had access to housing and chose to come into the city to beg for money. With signs claiming things like heart disease, it's no surprise these frauds made some money. But the way they did it was, well, just despicable. And it's bigger than you may think. These people are flown from China to Melbourne specifically to beg. They're put up in hostels and pass the money to someone else, so who knows how big of an operation this really is. If you're an avid TikTok user, you've likely heard or seen the account @AngryReactions. It's exactly what you think it would be, an angry man reacting to other TikTok videos. However, just because the man in the video has an angry tone and appears to be angry based on his facial expressions, he always has incredibly nice, positive things to say. This trend, or shtick I guess, became incredibly popular on TikTok and led to the man behind the account, 22-year-old Onia Johnson of Lafayette, Indiana, to grow a very large following. At the time of this recording, he's got 2.7 million followers. Yet something a lot of people recently found out about the guy is that he's actually homeless. So Johnson first shot to fame after making a duet reaction video on TikTok. His first video was posted on August 23rd, and within 24 hours, his following would shoot beyond 1 million. Now it's unheard of to gain 1 million followers overnight, and I'm not sure how many views the video got within its first 24 hours, but it went mega viral since, currently sitting at 42 million views at the time of this recording. That's 42 million views in about a week's time. Almost every other video the man has posted since has surpassed the 1 million view mark, and as you can imagine, they're all reactions, for the most part, with him saying nice positive things in an angry manner or tone. As previously mentioned, Johnson is currently sitting on 2.7 million followers and has 28.8 million likes to show for his success and newfound fame. BuzzFeed got in touch with the man and conducted a phone interview in which Johnson revealed a lot about his personal life that few people know about. He explained that the inspiration behind the account in the first place is that although he appears to be intimidating, he's actually a very positive, nice guy. In a video celebrating his milestone of reaching 1 million followers, he said, I quote, "With all the bad things going on in the world right now, I think it's teaching all of us to appreciate positivity much more. I basically took how the world sees me and how I really am and just matched it together. If I pass you on the street and I don't say a word, I look like the angriest person in the world. But when you actually get to know me, I'm actually a really positive person." This is the type of content I love, guys. Just that wholesome, positive, good fun stuff. No drama, no negativity, just some good vibes, laughs, and overall just fun times. However, Johnson's personal life isn't all sunshine and rainbows, as he was evicted from his Michigan home not too long ago and has been living out of his car ever since. In fact, a lot of the TikToks he's made were done from his car, as well as other people's homes. His brother lives in Lafayette, which is why he moved there, but his ex-girlfriend Jillian, who he shared a home with in Michigan, also moved down to Indiana to reconnect with Johnson. It turns out the reason for the eviction was because Johnson's neighbors would hear the couple arguing, but Johnson's loud voice would usually drown out Jillian's. This led to the cops being called numerous times, and although charges were never pressed against him, unfortunately the landlord still felt the need to evict the man. Johnson and Jillian share 2 children together, so they're on good terms, and are currently trying to make things work again, which is why Jillian relocated. She explained to BuzzFeed about his newfound success, I quote, "I'm very proud of him. When I saw the first video, I was dying laughing, and I said to him, this suits you so perfectly. That's who he really is. He's really like that. Everyone has their other side, of course. That's everybody, but he's a pretty good guy." Now, as we know, TikTok can be a very lucrative industry or business or opportunity. I'm not really sure what you'd call it, but either way, with Johnson's newfound success, I'm sure it won't be long before he's getting those massive brand deals and is able to get himself a brand new home in no time. Although I don't necessarily agree with the reason for him being evicted, I will say the silver lining here is that him moving to Indiana led to him starting this TikTok account and growing a crazy large following, which can and likely will change the rest of the man and his family's life. You'd love to see it. And I'm glad he got such a large following for spreading positivity. We definitely need more of that right now.